Welcome to episode 22 of the Shaffer Creative Podcast. This is Conversations with Creatives. This is part 5 of my conversation with Mike Surrey, story artist at Dreamworks Animation and best known for his work as supervising animator at Disney. I consider Mike to be among the greats of the art of traditional animation. He lived through one of the most unthinkable moments in the history of animation, the day that Walt Disney Feature Animation would shut the door to an 86-year legacy of hand-drawn animation. The Princess and the Frog was the 49th and final 2D animated feature to come from Disney. In this episode, Mike chronicles his career from Huntchback to the end of an era. And he talks about Disney's purchase of Pixar and his transition to the story department of Dreamworks.
He moved into the Hat Building.
Oh, yeah, he moved into the Hat Building.
Animation.
So when I finished doing the Paris thing, we were now at that building and finishing up Hunchback, and I think it was sort of like what Disney's doing now is like you saw the peak of success, which would be Frozen, and then the movies after that start to drop off.
Yeah.
And that started to happen, which is like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, way up here. How do you match that? Pocahontas comes out and it's like, and then Hunchback comes out and it's,
And
So
Treasure Planet was in there somewhere.
Treasure Planet was later, but it starts to, you can start to see the decline of the interest in what we were doing, and around Hunchback is when Jeffrey left. So the beginning of Hunchback, the very beginning, was we had heard that Jeffrey might be leaving because Frank Wells had died in that helicopter crash. Jeffrey thought he was going to take his position. Michael said no. He said, okay, well, I'm leaving and you owe me this kind of money, blah, blah, blah. So it was kind of interesting to be a part of that because we had a screening of the first screening of Hunchback in a small theater at work, and Jeffrey walks in like he does, but he came in with Michael Eisner. And we're like, we'd heard about all the stuff going on, but basically Michael was job shadowing Jeffrey as to, okay, what do you do? Let me see what you do, because I got to do it. I got to go to a screening. Okay, I'll go with you. And Jeffrey is normally very, hey guys, hey, what's going on? He was like sat in the middle. It's real quiet. So I'm here to make sure that you see this movie because you got to talk to these people about this, right? Meanwhile, behind the scenes is all that legal stuff going on. And when I saw the making, the documentary that was done, Waking Sleeping Beauty. Anyways, it was a documentary that was done, and it was interesting because I'm seeing moments that I saw from. It's like knowing this cup from this angle, and then all of a sudden, the whole time for 10 years, it was being filmed from this angle. So then all of a sudden, I get to see what I saw from another point of view.
Okay.
The studio's sort of going through a bit of a dysfunctional period because Jeffrey's not there anymore. Directors love it because they don't have to answer to him. But then the movies aren't necessarily that great, Hunchback. So after Hunchback was done, Toy Story had come out in the midst of all that. And that was the first CG film. Like, oh my God, this is like groundbreaking. This is like an amazing movie. And a funny moment was like, so we're in the Hat Building. I go to the third floor, which is development and story. And I went up there for a meeting or something. And I see Peter Schneider, who is our president. And he's talking with John Lasseter, like far away. And I'm like going up, and I have to go this way to my meeting. And Peter and Lasseter over here, and I hear Peter go, Mike, and I go, oh, come here. He goes, I want you to meet John. John, this is one of our top animators, Mike Surrey. It's John Lasseter, and I was like at this point going, oh, this is so great. Oh my God, Toy Story is so great. What a great movie. And it was completely sincere. Yeah. And he went, yes, it is. And didn't even really look at me, and I went, okay. And he goes, so Peter, and they kept blah, 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 blah talking. And meanwhile, I'm standing there listening to these two guys talk. And I go, well, I guess all right, nice to meet you. And I just like a nod, and then I walk away. It's weird. So then I was starting to work on Tarzan, was the next one up. And that was having story issues. That was having, like, what kind of movie is it going to be? Like, we don't want to, Edgar Wright's Burroughs, we want to make sure that it's true to his vision of what Tarzan was, not this stupid, jokey thing or comic booky thing. Let's make it this. Let's find the real. So Kevin Lima and Chris Buck were directing, and they're trying to find that. So, but it was fun. I mean, we're all like, and I was supposed to do the villain in that. So they assigned me to be the villain. Oh, okay. And then, I don't know, I didn't do one drawing of Clayton. And they had changed their mind. They said, well, we're recasting. We want you to do Turk, Tarzan's sidekick, Gorilla. And we're going to have Rosie O'Donnell's going to do the voice. I went, oh, okay. I went, well, I've kind of done that already, but okay. All right, sure, So we were waiting to get going, and I was doing a test, and there was going to be 3 ages of her through the movie. So I had to go through the design test, right. And then it got to a point where I said, okay, well, what am I going to? And contractually, I was going through contracts at that same time. So everybody was being paid through the nose at that point.
Yeah.
I was underpaid for the longest time. I got to a point on Huntchback where they had to break their contract with me to bump up my pay, because it was kind of embarrassing that many people that were coming in and showing me work were making way more than I was. So they bumped me up to be respectful. Yeah, I didn't. I kind of was like stupid Canadian that way, where I'm like, no, it's okay, it's all right. I just love what I do, but I'm not being like, no, you guys owe me more money. So they started paying me more on Hunchback near the end, and then when Tarzan came along, we renegotiated a longer-term deal, and that's where it was crazy money. Everybody was getting, because at that point Jeffrey was starting up Dreamworks, and he was starting to poach people.
Okay.
And that's where they went, okay, we're going to start to lose people, which means our movies aren't going to do. Let's start calling everybody and getting them signed up for long-term deals and pay them double what they're. So some people were getting called in, didn't even know why, and they're saying, we're doubling your pay. And they're like, oh, okay. Like cleanup artists, everybody was just getting like crazy money, bonuses, and after the Lion King thing, bonuses became a regular thing. Interesting story on Hunchback was that, so the bonus season came upon us, right? And people would talk, like, hey, Todd, what are you going to do with your bonus when you got it? And you're like, well, I don't know, I think I'm going to pay off my house. Somebody else goes, well, I'm just thinking about buying another car. I really like this car. So people would have these kind of crazy conversations, like by the water cooler. And I was under the assumption, like a lot of people, that everybody got one. So on Hunchback, we found out that our production assistants for our department don't get bonuses because they're not salary paid employees. So we heard this one time where one of them says, yeah, well, I heard so-and-so saying he's going to pay off his house. I'm like, they don't even know that we don't even get bonuses. And I said, what? You guys don't get bonuses? No, we don't get bonuses. Because we had 2 people on our staff. So James Baxter and I went around to all the supervisors of and animation and cleanup and said, let's all put $100 in. And we'll each give them a check for $2,000. Each of them will get a $2,000 check. So when everybody's getting bonuses, they'll get something. So they don't feel like they're not part of it, And, cool. And it was funny because you go around and we asked one guy, it's like, so we're collecting $100 from each of you. For 100? I go, yeah. And he goes, so like it's going to your production assistant, our production, cleanup and animation. They don't get bonuses. Okay, all right. Well, let me think about it. And I got annoyed. I was like, no, we're not going to think about it. You're just going to give me $100. Come on, like you don't have it. Please, everybody's just don't make me have to go through this. So they were overwhelmed. Yeah, they were so touched by people doing that. I mean, but that was kind of the world at that time. And then as we moved into Lion King, and then DreamWorks started up, and then it was like people had choices now. People were like, oh, maybe I don't want to work here. Maybe I want to work. And it became like this crazy thing. And then bonuses and contracts and everything were being done. And you kind of had to have it done unknowingly. But looking at it now, you had to have your contract signed before Hercules came out. Because once Hercules came out and bombed, they froze everybody's negotiations. They stopped them. So if you were in the middle of a juicy deal, but you're saying, I want $100 more a week. Meanwhile, you're getting paid 3 times what you're already getting paid, but you're going to ask for $100 more, and it gets delayed. They froze. Many people got their contract negotiations stopped. They never got that payday. So I didn't know this, but I mean, I signed mine prior to that, as long with Ken Duncan and a bunch of other people. We signed them all before that. But that was my introduction to doing story at Disney, because as the movie Tarzan was moving forward, it was still having issues getting going, getting stuff up and running. I just signed a new contract, and I felt like, okay, I'm feeling guilty about not working, and they're paying me a lot of money, and I felt like, okay, I want to do something. Yeah. So I asked, well, can I do story? And they said, well, no, we're going to have animation soon. And I went, well, in the meantime, can I not just board something that I'm going to animate? And they eventually agreed to it and gave me a couple sequences of Turk, one of her in her middle age giving the hair, telling Tantor that he had to go down to pull a hair from out of an elephant down in the water. Right. So I boarded that, and Trash in the Camp, the acapella, the stuff. So boarded that, and it was like fun. I was like, oh wow, this is really cool. I'm getting to like thumbnail stuff I'm going to animate in 4 months.
That's very cool.
Yeah. But it was a cool experience. I just really enjoyed getting to be able to do everything, like lay out the shots and play with the camera and angles and stuff that I think would work well for selling the camera. All that stuff was great. So hard production though, really hard production to work on. A lot of miscommunications and messy production stuff, and a lot of people I found out later were very unhappy working on the movie, so I wasn't alone.
It was like one of their biggest hits.
But it came out, it's a huge, like in the world of graphs, I mean, it was like Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Lion King, Pocahontas, Hunchback, and then Tarzan. Tarzan's actually a spike, but it just cost so much to make because everybody's salaries got imploded, and they absorbed that. They had to absorb that. And it took a hit financially, because if you looked, I guess, on the graph, the peak is the valley in their graph because it's so expensive. So they didn't really make money. They made a lot of money, but they didn't make money on it. Right. So after that movie, it started. The company didn't sort of. It seemed like it knew where it was going, but it didn't. It was just sort of doing autopilot. We're going to make another. Meanwhile, we're thinking, well, what's Pixar doing now? They got Toy Story. They did. Was it Bug's Life after that?
Bug's Life, yeah.
So Bug's Life would come out, and that was okay. But still, it's like, wow, they're really. I mean, it seems like that's the future of what we're doing, and so we were still playing with the 2D world and Atlantis. So I started working on Atlantis, and I did Rourke. So it's my first time doing a villain character. That was challenging in itself, but it was, Kirk and Gary, same guys who did Beauty and the Beast, who are notoriously easy to work with. So that part of it was kind of nice coming off of Tarzan, which was really difficult. And just interesting story with James Garner, who did the voice. So it's like, it's like your Rockford Files,
Yeah, totally.
You're what my mom used to like sit there and stare at the TV at, So I'd be like, oh wow, look at, So I was in a recording session. It was so cool, like old school Hollywood. because they're in a recording session. So James Garner comes in and he's going to deliver his lines. And I think he delivered a line. It's like one line, like, "All right, gentlemen, let's get to work," or whatever the line was. And then Kirk or Gary had the clicker and goes, "Okay, James, I'm wondering if maybe we can," and like he's trying to give him notes, and James stops him right away and goes, "Listen, here's what I'm going to do. Every line you have me here to read, I'm going to give it to you 3 different ways. And you can pick from one of those. I got a tea time in 45 minutes, and I'm not missing it." And they went, okay. And so he went to the next, and he read the line.
Smart to do.
Yeah, he went to the next line, which was like, take her down. Take her down. Take her down. Yeah, that was fantastic. Let's move on. And then I went through it, and he was out. Got out of there. Yeah, he wanted to. Like, just let me just tell you how this is going to work. It's so great.
Yeah.
Good about it. It's just like, let me just.
He's going to take control.
Yeah, let me just get to the chase here. We can search for the perfect way to say the word, but I'm just going to give you 3 ways you can pick it. And yeah. So you
can't fault him for that.
No, you're like, okay. So it was kind of interesting that way for working with him, but near the end of the movie, you could start to sense the studio's making changes. It's cutting back. There's talks of layoffs and what are we going to do next? And Chicken Little, I think, was starting to be developed, and CG films were coming in. So then, are we all going to transition to CG? And then there was talk, no, we're just going to bring in people that know CG. So then all of the feeling was like, okay, we're just going to be replaced. So it all reverted all the way back to my Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast anxiety of, okay, I'm not going to get myself worked up. I'm not going to worry about it. So I went on to Home on the Range. And started working on that. Like all the other movies, you do your research, talk to the actors, blah, 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 and working away and enjoying it. Because I could see that this could possibly be the last time we do 2D animation. So I'm gonna enjoy it. So every scene I had, I'm just gonna know that this could be the last one. So I'm not gonna get all angry and crazy. But everybody around is freaking out, and there's so much uncertainty going on. 9/11 happens. Lilo and Stitch has to be changed. There's a whole sequence where a plane goes through the city. They had to scrap that and rethink that. Bunch of stuff. Like, our Columbine happened during Atlantis.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And so you have army guys with guns and stuff. So if we couldn't have guns, or if they had a gun, they couldn't be pointing at another character in the same shot. You can have it pointed to the character off camera, but you couldn't. And you fire the gun, you could never fire it like think that I'm firing it at somebody. But there was all these rules to it. They could have a gun, but they couldn't fire it. It's just they wanted to be very sure that they weren't being because their audience are kids, So, and then it goes from that along with all the tensions, and then we hear near the middle of Home on the Range that the cleanup department was told, you guys don't exist anymore. More or less saying we're not hiring any of you back. Cleanup doesn't exist at Disney anymore. It's gone. So all these people that have been doing it for decades now found out their job doesn't exist.
Was it being shipped overseas?
No, they were just going to turn the studio CG. They weren't going to do 2D anymore. So we don't need a cleanup department. We don't need your services.
And then they came to you to say there's no more.
Well, it got to that. But at first, it was like, cleanup, we know we're not going to do. Animation, we're not sure. But cleanup, we know we're not going to do that anymore. So all these people were told this, and then they had 8 months of still working on a movie to clean it up, knowing that this is it. So some people were like embracing it, like, okay, well, let me enjoy this and maybe try to figure out what I can do next. Other people were angry. So sometimes people just being angry, like outwardly angry. So as the movie starts to run down, Home on the Range, they're trying to find ways to sort of get rid of money. Because we're bleeding a bit here, right? So they want to make sure how do we cut costs. So my salary, along with a lot of other people's salaries, were big from Tarzan days, and they were trying to find ways to cut them down. So they had a lawyer come in and go through everything, and you'd meet with this lawyer, and they would tell you that your pay is being you're getting a pay cut. So they'd have to tell you, you'd have to agree to it, and then sign a paper and move on. Well, I was getting a 50% pay cut.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I was making a lot of money. I mean, a lot of people were. So I knew that. I knew they were going to do that. So I went in there, and she goes, "So we're going to have to cut your pay by 50%." I went, "Okay." She said, I know it's a lot. I go, "Yeah, I know it's a lot, but I understand." Okay, because but looking at what you make, I mean, that's still you're going to be making a lot. I go, "No, I get that. I understand that." Like I put up zero fight. Because I kind of saw so I signed the paper. So now I have part of my contract with a 6-month sabbatical and paid sabbatical. So I'm nearing the end of Huntchback or Sweating Bullets or Home on the Range.
Sweating Bullets.
It used to be called Sweating Bullets.
Okay.
But I'm at the end of Home on the Range. I'm on like my second to last scene. And every time I've done stuff, I've had everybody say, "Oh, we really love your character. The stuff looks great. It looks really good." So I'm not doing anything wrong. So I go get called into the new Bill Dennis of that era, his office. He goes, "So we can do this two ways. We can either pay you out in one chunk, or you can just continue to get your salary per week." And I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Well, because you're leaving." I go, "What?" I'm completely like, "I'm what? I'm what?" He goes, "You're leaving." I go, "I am?" He goes, well, yeah, aren't you leaving to pursue your directing career?" And I kind of went, "What?" He goes, "Well, you're pitching ideas." And I go, "Have you been pitching ideas?" I go, "Well, yeah, I've been pitching ideas here." And this was basically them trying to put me in a position to say, your contract's coming to an end, and we don't want to put you on something else, and we don't want to keep carrying this money, so let's just part ways, pay you out, and we don't have anywhere for you to go. Back then, they were so black and white with, okay, we need Todd, we don't need Mike. Okay, Todd stays, Mike goes. Not thinking about, well, wait a minute, could we keep Mike? Maybe we could use him over here. Maybe he might be an asset to Todd, doing his job. They didn't think like that. They just went, CG, he doesn't. Okay. So I said I fought it a bit with him because I knew he was lying. And then he said, "Well, you got really upset when the lawyer told you had to cut your pay." And I'm like, "Okay, now I know you're lying because I know I didn't do that." So I said, "Well, if there's nothing that can be done, it's done now. I'll just continue to get paid weekly." He goes, "I'm really sorry about this." I said, "No, you're not." And I walked out. So I leave, and I'm getting paid, like I was for the next 6 months. But now I got to think of talk to DreamWorks. Now I'm working at DreamWorks. They trained me in CG. Start to work on Over the Hedge, which then goes into story problems. Then I go to work on Shark Tale, and I worked on Shark Tale. But then now they're going to do their thing where they say, "We're going to lay you off or bring you back. So you got to sign this paper to disappear for 3 or 4 months, and you come back." I go, "Well, what am I coming back to?" So you'll be an animator on our next project. I went, well, no offense to that, but when I'm seeing how I'm animating the same stuff I animated in 2D, but now I'm doing it in CG. But it's the stuff I did 10 years ago. So I don't really see where I'm growing here. And I said, "No offense to you." And I complimented him and said, "The people here are super talented. It's a great place to work. But I don't want you to waste my time, and I don't want to waste your money. So it's probably better I don't sign it." Oh, okay. And then, of course, I get a call from Bill Damashki a week later saying, "Come on in, I want you to meet with so-and-so to be a supervisor on our movie." So, I wasn't doing that to do that. I really meant that. But now it's turned into like, okay, well, what if we made you a supervisor? Would you stay? Well, I went, and it still didn't pan for me. So I left and went back to Disney, Toy Story 3, which was Disney doing Pixar sequels.
Right.
Because, and again, pull back a little bit, go a bit in the future, you see that it's just a big game that was being played on a high level of Michael Eisner saying, "F you, Steve Jobs, we're going to make these movies even though we don't need you, F you." So see, we're setting up a whole crew here. It's going to make sequels to all your Pixar movies because we can. And then Steve Jobs goes, "Okay, well go ahead, but you don't get any of our assets." So we sat there from looking at Toy Story art books, the movies, and built characters. Got Woody, Buzz, Jesse, the alien, a couple of the other characters. We built them all. From books, everybody built them and rigged them, everything. From looking at books and movies. Had no assets.
Wow.
So we did that and we were going to make Toy Story 3. And that went on for about a year. And then all of a sudden it was announced on a Monday, I think it was, Disney bought Pixar. Well, on Tuesday, it was announced that John Lasseter is going to be the head of animation for Disney. And we will have a meeting that afternoon with him. He's going to meet with everybody in the soundstage. So, go to lunch, log out, save my last Woody pose, save it, go to lunch, go to this meeting where somebody in the meeting eventually asks the question, what about the Pixar sequels? Are we going to continue to do those? And then he said that all Pixar sequels will be done at Pixar. So I'm sitting there going, and I'm trying to find, out of 1,200 people, trying to find eye connection with somebody in my 100 people that are working on this to see if, are you as confused as I am? And I locked eyes on Roy Connolly, our producer. And I looked at a distance. I saw Roy, and Roy's going. I went, "Oh crap! You didn't know either?" So you go back to your desk after this meeting. I go, "Well, there's no point in doing this anymore. It doesn't exist." So then the process became of them slowly taking files. So it's like, okay, well, how do I salvage a test out of what I did? Because we were doing a test for Tom Hanks to prove that we could do it at the same level as Pixar. So we're doing a line from League of Their Own where no crying in baseball. Yeah. So it's Woody talking to the alien. The alien's a crying baseball player. He's like, "Are you crying? Are you crying?" He's like, "No." It's the alien, right? So we were just showing that we can build an environment, animate everything. I said, okay, I want to get that scene before because I think part of the deal was that they would just call it a loss and destroy everything. So I wanted to pull it out. I managed to get it. Not a very good copy of it, but I got it, of that scene. And then it was like, okay, now what? So, all of us are sitting there. Some people that were employed from studios in Europe been there 2 days, and then they find out that they might not have a job. Move their families from Spain or England, and I'm like, now what? And then they ended up absorbing pretty much all of us into the feature animation. So if you're a rigger, you went into rigging. In my case, I didn't go into animation. I went into story. So Glenn calls me and asks me to work on Rapunzel and help him in story. And I went, oh, okay, great. And Roy Connolly came in. And I know Roy from Huntchback, and I know Roy personally. So I was like, oh, it's great. And that went on for another year. I was working on the movie. And then John Lasseter brought back Ron and John. They wanted to develop a 2D film, and they did, Princess and the Frog. And I thought, okay, here's my chance to work with them as supervisors, and I think this could be the last one. So I asked Glenn, okay, I'd like to try 2D one more time. Said, no, it's fine. So I left story, went back into animation to supervise on Ray on Princess and the Frog, and loved it.
Next week, oil painter John Stobart will be with us. John has enjoyed a long and steady career flourishing in his art, and at 89, he's still going strong. Thank you for joining us on this edition of the Shaffer Creative Podcast. You'll find the show notes at shaffercreative.studio. Consider supporting this podcast at our Patreon page, and please share us on social media. Music is by Lee Rosier.